stop. Look around you. If you are a financially responsible adult making an $80,000 salary, carrying almost no debt, and saving what you can, you should feel safe. You shouldn't be terrified. But the middle-class playbook, it's a lie. That life savings you think is your safety net, that $120,000 net worth at age 40, inflation is deleting its purchasing power faster than you can earn it. I'm going to prove it. I'm showing you the internal Redfin data that expose the story of one disciplined 40-year-old, a man forced to make the ultimate sacrifice. He had to surrender his independence and move back home just to fund a retirement the system quietly stole from him. And by the end of this video, you will know the one financial trap the government and banks have set for every middle-income earner, and the secret pivot you must make now to avoid the humiliation of being forced back home. Welcome back to Nation House Discovery, where we expose the hidden truths that control your housing and your money. If you're sick of rising bills, skyrocketing rents, and feeling betrayed by the system, you've found your community. Hit that subscribe button, like this video, share it with one person you think is in danger, and tell me in the comments, at 40, would you choose your retirement or a house?
We need to talk about Mark. Mark is the person every financial guru tells you to be. Frugal, focused. He makes $80,000 a year, which is decent, and he is single. Crucially, he has no student loans, no credit card debt, nothing but a small medical bill he's clearing next year. His take-home is $4,500 a month. Mark is the financial test case for the American dream. He should be winning. Instead, he's terrified. His entire net worth, everything he owns, is about $120,000. That's solid, but the rulebook says he should have 3 times his income saved by now. He is already behind. But the real crisis, the one that forced him onto our screen, is housing. His current rental situation is ending, his good friend and roommate is getting married, getting out. Mark is faced with the ultimate middle-class financial choice: rent a depressing studio for $1,000, or try to achieve the dream and buy a house with a $2,100 monthly payment. Here's the gut punch. That $2,100 payment, which includes taxes and insurance, is going to eat up almost half of his take-home pay. The emotional stakes are immediate. Mark is staring at 2 options. Option A, buy the house and secure his housing, but instantly plunge himself into the working until I die category. Or Option B, give up on home ownership entirely and retreat, effectively sacrificing his dating life and independence to frantically play catch-up. But the real betrayal here isn't Mark's decision. It's the invisible force that rigged the game against him before he even started. It's the hidden truth about property taxes and insurance, the one secret that financial planners ignore because it makes their spreadsheets look completely broken. You've been told the lie, now let me show you the trap. Mark is trying to jump from $1,000 monthly rent to $2,100 housing payment. That $1,100 difference is the single reason he has to abandon his savings plan. He was contributing about $1,500 to $2,000 a month toward his brokerage and Roth IRA, the money that was supposed to compound for his future. That's the money he loses when he buys the house, and that's the moment the system silently betrays him. Here is the financial disaster that nobody talks about when you get a fixed-rate mortgage. The variable annual escalating liability hiding inside your mortgage payment. I'm talking about property taxes and homeowners insurance. Mark looked at a house where the taxes jumped from $3,000 to $3,800 in just 4 years. That's a 27% increase. That isn't a cost of living adjustment, that is an accelerated, forced tax hike. While property tax rates vary, the sheer revenue collected by municipalities across the U.S. rose by 27% from 2019 to 2023. At the same time, homeowners insurance premiums have exploded by over 70% in some areas, driven by mounting climate risks and rebuilding costs. Your 30-year fixed mortgage is a promise the bank keeps, but the property taxes and insurance bundled into your escrow? The local government and the insurance companies are constantly moving the goalposts. They are setting a hidden tax on the middle class.
Mark did the math once and the house worked. He buys the house and he loses his savings rate. He stays put for 4 years, and that $2,100 payment quietly creeps to $2,300 or $2,400 due to this accelerated tax and insurance creep. The house he buys to secure his future becomes the very thing that prevents him from having a future. This is the great erosion. This isn't poor budgeting. This is a systemic siphon where the local government and powerful insurance conglomerates delete your financial margin year after year until you're left with nothing but the crushing fear of an unexpected repair. You start with a fixed mortgage, you end with a variable income squeeze. So what does this mean for every renter and current homeowner watching this? If you buy a house that leaves you with only enough money to cover your 401k match, you are effectively gambling your entire retirement on one thing, that your salary raises will forever outpace your fixed non-mortgage costs. And as Mark quickly realized, the deck is completely stacked against you. The choice wasn't just tough, it was impossible. And the solution he landed on is the single greatest indictment of the affordability crisis we have seen yet. We need to understand the new betrayal. The problem isn't the price of the house. The problem is what inflation does to your margin of safety after you buy the house. Mark's $2,100 payment has two parts: the fixed mortgage and the variable liability. And that variable liability, the escrow, is the silent wealth killer. Let's look at the hidden truth exposed by his story, the tax trap. Mark saw property taxes on that house jump 27% in just 4 years. This isn't appreciation. This is an accelerated forced tax hike. The national median property tax surged by 23% between 2019 and 2023. That's not a slow creep. That's a speed run to the bottom for the middle-class homeowner. This isn't just about taxes, it's about insurance. As climate risk grows, the cost of homeowners insurance in many U.S. states has exploded by over 40% in the last 6 years. And in high-risk areas, the increase is far worse. You bought a fixed-rate mortgage, but the system ensured you have a variable, ever-rising liability sitting right inside your monthly payment. The local government and the insurance giants are constantly moving the goalposts, deleting your financial cushion year after year. Now let's look at the terrifying calculation, the retirement black hole. Mark's $2,100 increase in housing cost forces him to completely obliterate his monthly personal investment contributions. He was saving $2,000 a month for his future. Now he's lucky to manage just his 8% 401k match. That $2,000 a month, the money that was supposed to compound for 25 years, is now gone, forever. If he buys the house, Mark trades the certainty of home ownership for the certainty of financial struggle in old age. The system is built to reward those who already own property and punish those who are desperately trying to get in. You are being forced to bet that your salary raises will forever outpace the relentless year-over-year rise in property taxes and insurance. And as Mark quickly realized, the deck is completely stacked against you. The home you buy to secure your future becomes the very thing that prevents you from having a future. It left Mark with an impossible choice: sacrifice his pride or sacrifice his security. Let's dive into the core confusion that traps millions of middle-class strivers. It's the impossible math. Mark's take-home is $4,500. His proposed new housing payment, mortgage, taxes, insurance, utilities, is $2,100. That leaves him with $2,400 for everything else. On paper, this looks doable. It looks safe. Financial gurus would nod and say, "You're fine." But Mark's heart is screaming. That $2,400 is not a cushion. It's a knife edge. It leaves him zero breathing room for the inevitable: the furnace exploding, the roof repair, the car, which, by the way, is already decaying and will need to be replaced in the next 2 to 3 years. Every homeowner knows the brutal truth. Maintenance isn't optional. It's a deferred bill. And Mark has precisely $0 in his monthly budget dedicated to the $10,000 disaster lurking around the corner. This leads us to the frugality lie. Mark is not some lavish spender. He is a true homebody. He eats out maybe once every couple of months. He hasn't taken a vacation since he was a teenager. He regularly spends less than $400 a month on groceries, which is almost impossible in the current inflationary environment. His lifestyle costs are consistently under $1,000 a month. If Mark, the ultra-disciplined, non-spending machine, still cannot afford a home and a secure retirement, the problem is not your spending habits. The problem is systemic. The system has convinced you that if you just cut out the coffee, the vacation, and the new clothes, you'll be safe. Betrayal. That lie is designed to keep you blaming yourself, while the hidden taxes and rising home prices delete your savings. And here's where the moral tension escalates: the false choice. Mark realizes continuing to rent is not the easy escape. A studio apartment without a roommate would still cost him $1,000 plus utilities. He's paying for housing, but his $2,000 monthly savings target is still nearly impossible to meet. He is trapped. He is trapped if he buys because he sacrifices his retirement. He is trapped if he rents because the rental market and inflation still prevent him from catching up. The reality Mark faced is the same facing every middle-class American. You are being forced into a decision where both outcomes guarantee long-term financial insecurity. But in the face of this impossible math, Mark found one extreme, humiliating path out, a path that reveals the absolute failure of the American middle-class dream. This is the point where the outrage hits. Because in every crisis, there are winners and there are losers. Mark is the quintessential loser. He is the frugal middle-income worker who sacrificed his life, his fun, his social standing, and still got crushed by inflation and fixed costs. Mark is the cautionary tale. Discipline is no longer enough to guarantee security. He is the future homeowner who, despite having $120,000 saved, is being priced out of the market entirely, now staring down the forced decision to rent forever or retreat home. But who is winning? Who is benefiting from Mark's panic and every dollar being vacuumed out of his savings? Let's look at the winners, and remember, this isn't black and white, it's morally gray. First, the fixed-rate retiree. This is the last generation of homeowners who bought decades ago, often with low-rate mortgages. The same relentless inflation and wage stagnation that is destroying Mark's buying power is actually eroding their debt. Their mortgage balance is cheaper every single year. Mark's financial sacrifice is their guaranteed safety. They win, not through malice, but because they entered the system before the doors slammed shut. Second, the local municipality. They are the new shadow landlord. Their property tax revenue surges because the underlying value of your potential home is soaring, giving them more money from less effort. They don't have to raise taxes. The appraisal does the work for them. Mark is the source of their new funding. They're funded by the annual unavoidable squeeze on people like him. And finally, the most painful winner, the unscrupulous investor. Mark's entire crisis was triggered because his good roommate moved out. Who will take Mark's old rental unit now? An institutional buyer will acquire the property knowing the desperate demand. They raise the rent by 20% to meet the new inflated market rate, benefiting directly from the new high-demand, low-supply rental environment Mark is desperately trying to escape. You see the loop. Mark is squeezed by taxes to enrich the municipality, he's priced out by appreciation that benefits the retiree, and he's forced into a rental market that charges him more, enriching the investor. Mark is standing in the center of the financial machine, and it's built to spin wealth away from him and toward those who already hold the advantage. This leads us to the most painful piece of the story, the desperate, dramatic decision Mark was forced to make after realizing the system was rigged. We've established the injustice. Now feel the desperation. Mark knew the $2,100 mortgage was a suicide pact for his retirement. He knew the frugality lie wouldn't save him. His remaining options were the ultimate choice between pride and survival. He had to make a decision that would redefine his life, his social standing, and his mental health. He chose the emergency bailout.
Mark's gut told him, and I quote, "I should just abandon the hope of a house and tough out moving back home so I can pull my retirement prospects out of the shitter." Think about that for a second. This is the ultimate betrayal of the American dream. The middle-class benchmark of success, independence by 18, home ownership by 40, was deemed an absolute financial impossibility. At 40 years old, with $120,000 in assets, Mark had to trade his independence for his long-term solvency. The humiliation. Moving back home is not a fun financial hack for Mark. It ensures he will never get a partner, as he put it. He is sacrificing his social life, his autonomy, and his mental comfort to become a financial refugee. It is the total surrender of the middle-class adult identity. The payoff, however, is immense. By moving back home, Mark's living expenses drop to near zero. He projects he can pump his savings by $40,000 per year. That is the only way he can begin to repair the decade of compound interest the system stole from him. But here is the WTF twist that makes this decision a high-stakes gamble. Mark is in an area projected to see housing prices continue to rise by over 10% annually. So, he trades his dignity for a $40,000 annual savings injection. But if house prices are climbing at 10% or more, will he ever actually catch up? The sacrifice is immense, the mental cost is severe, but there's no guarantee that even this extreme, humiliating measure will be enough to buy a house in 4 or 5 years. He's not just running from a high mortgage payment, he's running on a treadmill that is constantly accelerating. And that is the core risk every one of you is facing right now. If even the most radical personal sacrifice isn't enough, what happens when the financial threats get much, much bigger? You need to know the ticking clock he's trying to outrun. Mark made the agonizing choice to retreat home, but his crisis isn't over. It is simply mutated into a race against the clock. This is the segment where we stop talking about if this could happen to you and start talking about when. Mark's initial risk was the domino effect. He realized if he bought the house, he would have zero buffer for the inevitable. The biggest piece of that inevitable? His decaying car. It needs to be replaced in the next 2 to 3 years. If Mark had purchased that house and the transmission failed, he would have been forced to choose between the home he just bought and the car he needs to earn his $80,000 salary. That is the kind of no-win scenario the middle class lives under. Now let's talk about the unavoidable truth for every renter watching this. You think you're safe by staying put, that you're waiting out the high prices, but inflation is not waiting for your next raise. Every year you delay your move, the down payment you need gets higher. The interest rates for your future mortgage remain punishingly high, and the tax and insurance bill for that property continues to grow. You are running in place, but the finish line is moving further away, faster than you can sprint. Your safety net, your cash savings, is being eaten alive by inflation while the price of the asset you want is still appreciating. And finally, the ultimate risk Mark faces, and the risk that is exponentially higher for millions, the single income trap. Mark is single. He has no partner to share the property tax burden. He has no second income to cover a sudden job loss. A financial shock to a dual-income household is survivable. It means tightening the belt. A financial shock to Mark is catastrophic. He has no safety net besides his mother's house. This lack of dual income is why the entire system is built to squeeze him out first. If you are a single earner, the margin for error is razor thin and the pressure is constant. The system demands that you either find a partner or accept a life of financial vulnerability. So, Mark has bought himself time, but he hasn't solved the underlying problem. To solve the problem, he needs a new playbook. He needs the counter-strategy nobody talks about. Mark's crisis proved that the old rules are obsolete. Frugality failed. Working hard failed. The only thing that saved him was the nuclear option. But for you, there is a better way. This is the new playbook for the financially trapped middle class. This is the guidance.
Actionable strategy number 1, the reverse play. Mark, like many people, prioritized the down payment for the house first. He should have reversed that. Your retirement account is not just a savings vehicle, it is your ultimate hedge against systemic failure. Specifically, Mark was smart to prioritize his Roth IRA. Remember this, contributions to a Roth IRA can be withdrawn at any time penalty-free in case of emergency. That means a fully funded Roth IRA is both your retirement savings and your emergency fund. If Mark had maximized that first, he would have had more secure capital compounding, with the ultimate escape hatch if the housing market demanded it. Your first priority must be to secure the future the system is trying to steal. Actionable strategy number 2, the income pivot. Mark is the most frugal person we've ever studied. He has no more costs to cut. The only way out of the affordability crisis is to stop fighting the costs and start fighting the wage stagnation. The $2,100 mortgage payment requires a salary of around $140,000 today to maintain a safe savings rate and a decent quality of life. Mark makes $80,000. The gap is $60,000. You cannot save your way to that kind of security. You must income pivot. You must immediately focus on a side hustle, a high-value certification, or aggressively negotiating your current salary. Mark's story is proof. In today's crisis, your focus must shift from saving every penny to earning the pennies inflation requires. This brings us to the ultimate survival insight. The truth is, for the wealthy, a house is an inflation hedge. The value goes up, debt gets cheaper, and they win. But for the middle class, a fully funded retirement is the new hedge against the system. Do not fall for the narrative that you must buy a house at all costs. The house will appreciate, yes, but if buying it means sacrificing your last 20 years of compound growth, you are trading short-term stability for long-term destitution. Your security is no longer measured by your square footage, it is measured by your compound growth rate. So, Mark chose survival. He accepted the humiliation, but that extreme choice leads us to the final polarizing question that every one of you must answer right now.
We have reached the end of Mark's story, but the truth it exposes lives on. Mark had $120,000 saved at age 40. He was debt-free. He was aggressively frugal. And yet, he was still forced into financial surrender. He was forced to choose the humiliation of moving back home just to survive. This isn't just a financial crisis, it's a moral one. It's a crisis of betrayal. My final question to you, the audience who shares Mark's anxiety, is this. Who was truly responsible for Mark's forced return home? Was it the uncontrollable forces, the relentless inflation and the hidden, escalating property taxes that destroyed his financial buffer? Or was it his own emotional need, the clinging to the American dream that told him he must buy a house, even when he knew the math was too tight? I want to hear your argument. This is the debate that defines the middle class right now. The pressure to buy is immense, but the financial risk of doing so is often catastrophic. Tell me in the comments below. Take a side. Let's have this debate. If you think I missed another hidden trap, another systemic flaw that contributed to Mark's downfall, let me know. If you found the reverse play strategy helpful, smash that like button. Share this video with every single friend you know who is stuck between renting and retirement. This channel exists to expose the truth and protect your money. Don't go through this crisis alone. I'll see you in the next deep dive.